On May 26, 2013, Harrison Okene found himself trapped in total darkness, deep under the ocean, 30 meters beneath the surface. This terrifying situation began when the tugboat he was on, the Jaskin IV, capsized off the coast of Nigeria's Escravos region. Harrison was a cook on the Jaskin IV, a tugboat that worked with oil tankers near the African coast. These tugboats often faced the threat of pirates, so they had strict security rules to keep the crew safe. On this day, the Jaskin IV had helped 2 other tugboats guide a large supertanker safely. Harrison and his crew had many years of experience, so they felt prepared for anything the sea could throw at them. But Harrison was about to find out that even the most routine situations could turn dangerous. That day, Harrison went to rest, not worried about pirates. While he and the crew were asleep, the Jaskin IV and the other tugboats were performing their usual towing tasks. Everything seemed fine, except for the choppy waters. But this was just the calm before the storm. Early in the morning, Harrison woke up to use the restroom and suddenly, chaos erupted. A huge wave crashed into the tugboat, shaking it violently. Because of security protocols, the crew was locked inside their room. The sea, powerful and cold, quickly flooded the ship, tipping it over. Harrison was already underwater before he knew what was happening. As the roar of the ocean filled his ears, Harrison's first instinct was to try to escape. But he soon realized he was trapped in the bathroom with water pressure making it impossible to open the door. He saw 3 of his crewmates get sucked out through an emergency hatch into the freezing ocean. Harrison could do nothing but watch. Harrison tried to stay calm as he processed the nightmare around him, but another powerful wave forced him out of the bathroom and into the hallway, where his crewmates had been moments before. Now, the tugboat was upside down and submerged. Harrison ended up in a small air pocket inside another bathroom, this time in an officer's cabin. Trapped inside a 6-sided steel box, 30 meters underwater, Harrison had no idea how long he could survive. His main goal was to stay calm. He was alone, surrounded by silence, only hearing his own heartbeat. Harrison didn't know if anyone would find him, or if he could be rescued in time. Luckily, many boats were nearby, and they quickly started searching for survivors. Even though Harrison had survived so far, he knew his situation was still dangerous. He later learned that the tugboat had sunk to the bottom of the sea. Rescue teams knocked on the hull of the boat, searching for signs of life. Harrison knocked back, hoping to be heard, but his sounds were lost in the silence of the deep sea. He had no food, water, or light in his air pocket. He was completely alone in the dark. As the hours passed, Harrison, dressed only in his boxers, knew he would eventually freeze to death. But thinking about his wife and family, he decided he had to try to survive. He knew his only chance was to dive deeper into the ship to look for an escape. Even though he had no diving gear or light, he took the risk. Scuba diving can be dangerous, especially without proper equipment. Diving too deep can cause oxygen poisoning, and coming up too fast can cause the bends, a painful and deadly condition. But Harrison was determined. He reasoned that if he could keep surviving, someone would find him. He lowered himself into the dark water, feeling his way around the tugboat, using only his memory to guide him. Amazingly, he found another air pocket in the engineer's office, but he knew his options were running out. To stay warm, Harrison built a floating platform from a mattress and some wall pans. This helped him avoid heat loss and stay above the water. Meanwhile, West African Ventures, the company that owned the tugboat, hired a team from DCN Global to recover the bodies of the lost crew members. From their ship, the Toucan, they launched another mission to find survivors. Harrison tried to stay hopeful, but he could only listen in fear as every drop of water echoed in his metal prison. In these moments, he relied on his faith and determination to keep going. The dive crew had a difficult job. The tugboat was 100 feet underwater, and the seabed silt made it hard to see. It took them an hour just to get inside the locked ship. Finally, 3 divers, Nico van Herden, Andre Erasmus, and Dara Oosthuizen, made it inside the ship, expecting to find only bodies. Their supervisor above guided them as they searched the vessel. They found 4 bodies but had no idea of the horrors Harrison had faced. By now, Harrison had been underwater for 60 hours, and carbon dioxide poisoning was setting in. When he saw light outside the engineering room, he couldn't believe it. Desperate to be saved, Harrison dove into the water to grab Nico before he was left behind. He grabbed Nico's arm, startling the diver and making him realize his mission wasn't over yet. Nico initially thought Harrison was just another body they needed to recover, but when Nico grabbed Harrison's hand, he felt Harrison squeeze back. Nico was shocked to see a living person staring back at him. His supervisor shouted through the microphone that Harrison was alive, and instructed Nico to calm him down by patting his shoulder and giving him a thumbs up. The other divers spoke to Harrison too, but they still needed to get him out safely. The diving team discussed the best way to rescue Harrison. They decided to treat him like a deep-sea diver, bringing him up slowly to avoid complications. Normally, people can only stay at such depths for about 20 minutes, so the divers would bring Harrison up in state. They gave him an oxygen mask and warmed his body with hot water. They then moved him to a diving bell, a special chamber where they could all ascend safely together. At 7 p.m. on May 28th, Harrison finally reached the surface. He thought he had been underwater for only 12 hours and was shocked to find out it had been nearly 3 days. But Harrison still wasn't safe. The team took him to a decompression chamber to adjust his body slowly to normal pressure. This process took another 2.5 days but was successful. After more than 60 hours underwater, Harrison Okene was alive to tell his incredible story. His quick thinking and calm attitude had helped him survive in the deep, dark ocean when it seemed impossible. His story of faith and resilience shows us that even when all hope seems lost, a small bubble of hope can keep us going.